Hello again, I'm Stephen Jerome, and I'm going to continue reading from my third novel, The London Year. Terry has just come home from work. The front door was locked. He couldn't get in the front door, so he had to go around the back, and he discovered when he went in that the back door was open and the place had been kind of ransacked, including his money stolen and his camera was stolen. And he went upstairs to Tess and Gracie's room. Their room had been ransacked, and now he ventured up to the top floor where Finn, the artist, has his big bedroom and studio. And he's about to walk in. I knocked gently, a little ridiculous under the circumstances, but my heart was pounding. Then I opened the door and looked inside. At first, it was difficult to see anything. The long wall of street-facing windows opposite the door were covered with floor-length curtains, expensive, deep burgundy-colored velvet ones, to keep the room completely dark. I felt for a light switch. When I found it, my eyes were momentarily blinded by two very bright spotlights clamped to the edge of a work table in the center of the room. They were directed toward the wall on my left, which was entirely covered in faces. I was looking at a huge collage of close-ups, striking men and women's faces, hundreds of them, all pages cut cleanly from magazines, sized uniformly, adhered directly to the wall. It was careful, clean, and carried a punch, extending from floor to ceiling, side to corner side. When I stepped further in and faced the wall directly, I felt like the target of startlingly focused energy. All the eyes were looking at me. Glancing around, though, and to my surprise, I saw no disruption at all. At the far end of the room was a bulky wardrobe similar to mine. It was center-placed to allow a small alcove for Finn's bed in the darkest corner. But the wardrobe itself was closed and seemingly undisturbed. Turn the page. Near the curtained window was a tall easel. There was a canvas on it facing away from me. Beside it was a small table with various jars, brushes of pencils, and tubes of paint. I was most curious about what might be on the canvas and stepped around to have a look. At about 3 by 5 feet, vertically aligned, it immediately suggested manor house proportions, pretty ambitious in scale. But there wasn't much to see. The surface was gessoed white. There were numerous pencil lines suggesting a 3/4 length portrait. Whether this was for Francesca or Sebastian, I just couldn't tell. Nothing said there was work actually underway. By contrast, as my eyes were drawn again to the giant collage, I could tell that there had been careful, almost obsessive energy spent to make all the edges align so cleanly. And so many faces, hundreds. More than orderly or even obsessive, the wall had the feeling of honoring, a wall of wonders. Clearly, Finn was enthralled with beauty. But why was the room so tidy? Had the thieves not made it up this far? Perhaps the robbers opened the door and felt what I felt, a force field radiating so strongly that even thieving junkies, or whoever they were disinclined to push through. Most certainly, I felt I was in a private sanctum I had no permission to be violating. I was an intruder here, no less than the robbers downstairs. And I was fascinated. I stepped closer. The images were mostly models, stunning males and females, all in close-up. Finn's prime source material was obviously fashion magazines, the expensive ones. But there were also some striking accents, shots of old, wrinkled faces, heads of Greek and Roman sculptures, like the ones Sebastian had been talking about that inspired him as a young teenager. There was Michelangelo's David, an ash-black African, his face painted with tribal decorations, several early Renaissance Madonnas with golden halos, and children staring back with their wide, wide open stares. Color splashes included a glowing moon, a monk in orange robes, a man on fire, and glistening coral that popped out like the colors in Sebastian's eyes. There were no celebrities, only two of Sebastian, neither prominent nor suggesting favor. Maybe these were included before Sebastian came into our lives. There was no way of telling. But the word Finn used came immediately to mind, wondrous. Here was his wonder world, perfect youth chased by mortality, beauty a vain promise where somewhere time was laughing. Clearly, no single image could capture the wonder he felt. All the stars in heaven weren't enough. Tears welled in my eyes as I began to understand Finn for the first time. He postured with glib bravado, the petty scammer, pub crawler, beggar at his father's table. All of it was his defense, cheap currency in the face of overwhelming wonder. I went downstairs and called the cops. When they arrived with checkered caps and notepads, they didn't tell me anything I didn't already know. It was Christmas. Home robberies happened every year at this time. They'd send someone to dust for fingerprints, but don't hold your breath. I also called Colin, the landlord, who came over just as the police were leaving. It was all pretty depressing. The sense of violation turned into quiet rage. Tess felt the same when she called from her parents' house later that night, and I reported the bad news. I had no number for Finn. There was no reaching Gracie until she got back from Wales. All I could do was hunker down and spend Christmas alone in the spooky flat. Okay, I'm going to stop there. We'll continue with whatever it is tomorrow. And again, thank you for watching.